What's up, Cave Dwellers? I'm Gabe.
I'm Darren, and guess where we are today? Where are we, Gabe?
Studio.
That's right. We're in the new studio. Soon to have a new studio tour, but today we have a really cool topic.
We have to finish it first.
Yeah, well, we do have to finish it first.
We got this done for you.
We do, yeah. We have
Just
this,
for you.
We have the studio, we have the computer room, and part of the lounge done, but the actual store itself is not up and ready to go. So we are here in the new studio, and we'll have a studio reveal walkthrough thing coming soon.
Once we're comfortable?
Yeah, well, once we get everything ready and the shelves are not there. Because what you see is not what we see.
Yeah.
So before we do anything else, let's get right into thanking the sponsors. I just want to say thank you, RPG, rpghiring.com. Make sure you check them out if you're looking for a new career. They're building people, changing lives. Ooh, we got a spicy one today, and I think it's very relevant and not quite as boring as we have been lately with the whatever shows.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, what is today's topic?
Shang-Chi.
It is Shang-Chi.
And the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, we're doing a Shang-Chi movie review and comic comparison. So we're going to go into a little bit of a movie review, and then we're going to do, how the movie compared to the comics. And we're going to do a little bit of things we noticed, maybe some Easter eggs in there, and what we think the future of the MCU is going to go. So we'll jump right into it. We'll start off with some pros of the movie itself. Gabe, what did you like pro-wise?
It had amazing cinematography, and I mean, like, the cameras, the CGI, everything. Like the one where the scene where there is the water map, that was beautiful. It looked like actual water. It didn't look like a clear resin or something.
Right.
And where he's on the horse and he slings the rings downward, and that was in the
first.
that was in the trailer.
10 seconds,
that was in the trailer. So was part of the water map,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully you've seen it already.
Yeah, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah. Like the energy you can see in between the rings, or whenever they're fighting over the rings, just everything. It looks so amazing. The angles they've chosen, the lighting, it's beautiful.
Speaking of good fighting, going right on to the next one here, the show had good fighting. It really did, and it had because it's more of a martial arts take on a Marvel movie, or Marvel's take on a martial arts movie. It did have some of the throwbacks to the old school, like martial arts movies and fighting and stuff like that. Where they're almost cheesy, but they were fun to watch. And it had a few of those in it, but they looked right. It was fitting. It had, like Gabe was saying, the cinematography of it was great. The choreography, yeah, was great on it. I mean, it made sense and it flowed, but you could tell like there were some throwbacks to a lot of it. So I think that was really cool that they did that too.
It's like Star Wars Episode 3. They actually trained for the fighting.
They did.
Which was
if you haven't seen
good.
that, you ought to go look that up at some point. Another thing there is really good humor in the right places. So it was. Everybody says it's more of a dark movie, and in certain times it was, especially towards the end. It was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
But there was good humor in it, and the two main characters there flowed good together. I'm looking forward to seeing them in more stuff as well.
Yeah. It was the perfect amount sprinkled everywhere.
Right. I think another thing is it had a really good plot and a new story that was not in the comics, based off of old comics, and we'll get right into that in just a second. But it had a good plot and really good story, based off of some old stuff that was.
You can tell there's a bit from the comics, like just small little details or details mixed together, but like it wasn't directly from a comic story.
No, just the characters, some of the characters and whatnot. And another big pro for me is the dad wasn't really a bad guy. He was just really misunderstood. And it was almost like he was trying to do good for his children, and you thought the whole time that he was going to be bad and like try to kill him. And in reality, it was just, he was trying to do good, and the rings kind of corrupted him.
It was very ironic. He strives so hard for something that he wanted the most, but it was always just out of reach because he tried so hard.
Yeah. Some cons of the movie we'll jump right into this as well. The father isn't even close to being comic accurate. Matter of fact, he's so inaccurate from the comics. We'll go into that in a minute with the comic comparison part. But
here's like how I like to explain it is they mixed the Mandarin and Fu Manchu, which is Shang-Chi's father from the comics, right? Mm. And they took the Mandarin, drained him to an empty shell, and that's who Trevor, the actor, is. And they put everything from the Mandarin into Fu Manchu, and then removed like half of Fu Manchu also. So it's like...
So we'll get there in a second. Yeah. So another con here is the Mandarin plot itself is kind of goofy. So the Mandarin was brought to you in Iron Man 3, and he was supposed to be this big bad guy, and in reality he was... what did you say his name was? Trevor. Yeah, the actor inside of a movie. The actor inside of a movie that they put on as the Mandarin or whatever. Well, the whole plot of the Mandarin itself was kind of goofy because in Marvel Comics he's completely different, and we'll get there.
Even the community got spicy when that happened.
Yeah.
Like people were not happy.
And I know Gabe said the CGI and the cinematography was great. I'm not. There's one one that I really, really noticed, and it's because I love cars, and action scenes in movies or whatever. The car CGI was not on point. It was really, really cheesy, especially with the SUV that had the spray paint. What was his name?
Razorfist
SUV, the BMW MI whatever X. It was an X3 electric car. It was an iX3 maybe. Anyways. It was really cheesy. The way it drove, the way it handled, the way that it was like flying around corners, and it like went under the door and that crushed the other car with the door, and there was just a lot of things about it that were like
when
that
door shut, that did bother me.
It was, I mean, just the whole drive, the whole like 5 minutes of them being in the car or whatever. It was like almost like a really cheesy CGI'd RC car. It was not even remotely realistic.
Yeah, that one.
I think all of the vehicles in the whole show, except for the very first when they are valet parking the M8, every other car in the entire, even the Defenders, whenever Wen Wu was coming into Ta Lo, cheesy. Just cheesy. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one. In the last plot here, the last con here for the movie.
This is more of Darren's con.
Yeah. I mean, the last con here for the movie, for me at least, was there's not enough info on the monster at the end. So, his dad ended up not being the bad guy. Well, the monster ends up being the bad guy. And it's like, who is this monster? He's not out of comics. He's based on a comic character, kind of, but he's not really out of the comics. It's like, who is it? And in reality, it's like, nobody knows, but he looks like Cthulhu. So I'm like, is it Cthulhu?
I don't really care all that much. Like, it didn't bother me solely because he ate souls, which means I get to say, your soul is mine.
He just kept saying, like, they kept talking about the movie being, like, Shang Tsung going to be in the movie. The monster ended up being a giant Shang Tsung, so they were happy about it. But anyways.
Like, I don't care as long as I get my Mortal Kombat reference.
Well, that was our bit of our movie review. Hopefully you guys have some other stuff you can leave in the comments. We'll look and see what you liked or didn't like about it. But let's go right into the comic comparison because this is big on this movie. Very big. We'll start off saying the first appearance of Shang-Chi was actually in the 1973 Special Marvel Edition number 15. And that was the first appearance. There's not a whole lot on here about Shang-Chi, so we're going to go right into the Mandarin himself. Gabe, tell him a little bit about the Mandarin and what he really was.
So the Mandarin was like, okay, so he's Iron Man's arch nemesis, and he's entirely different in the comics. He was like this outcast when he was born. He's a direct descendant of Genghis Khan. His father married an English woman or had a child with an English woman, which was the Mandarin. And the gods saw that as a bad omen, and they crushed his father with an idol. His mother died from like sadness right afterwards. He went with his aunt. His aunt tried to kill him. A chandelier almost killed her. So she was like, I'm going to raise him to hate the world. So he hated the world. He gets caught by the government for tax evasion. And that's how he loses everything. He has to walk among the peasants of the village. And everybody's like terrified of him. And they're like, watch your tongue, boy. That's the Mandarin. And then he ends up going to a forbidden valley, finds a skeleton of a dragon.
No, he wasn't a skeleton. He was still alive. He was still alive.
In the original, it was a skeleton.
Are you sure?
Mhm.
Because I looked it up. Everything I read was he's still alive. The dragon was still alive, but he let the dragon die. He didn't save him.
In the original comic panels, he was a skeleton that he found in a cliff. It wasn't underneath a waterfall. It was a cliff.
Well, there's
and then he
multiple
falls
versions
off
of
of the cliff because, they retcon stuff.
Yeah.
He fell off of the cliff, finds the spaceship, and then he's searching the spaceship. He puts on a helmet, gets all the memories of the dragon, then proceeds to look for the power source.
Oh, by the way, the
place.
dragon. Yeah, that's another thing here. We'll go ahead and... we'll save that for a second. Anyways.
Finds the power source, and it was 10 rings. They were not meant for your fingers, but they fit his fingers, so he put them on.
Yes. So, before we go into the rings, let's go into Fu Manchu, Zhengzhou, and Wen Wu. All the same character. All being Shang-Chi. How have we been saying it wrong the whole time? Shang-Chi's dad. So, it started off in the comics as Fu Manchu and Zhengzhou. And due to some copyrights, due to Marvel not being able to actually use that, and due to some other bad things that in the past, they had to rename him as Wen Wu, and ended up, like Gabe said earlier, merging the Fu Manchu Zhengzhou character with the Mandarin to create Wen Wu, which is in the movie MCU now, as his father.
And they basically got rid of nothing from Fu Manchu because in the comics, I'm going to be honest, he was kind of lame. He had nothing for him other than the fact that, like, his original story before they added more on was literally he discovered the elixir of life, he owned every gang, cult, and everything in the world, and he had the genius of 3 men.
Yeah,
and
so
he lived forever with this elixir of life or oil of life.
Right.
And he had been just studying and gaining power.
So essentially, the Mandarin could live forever, and Fu Manchu character could live forever, and the Fu Manchu character was like this criminal underworld boss who ran this world's biggest gang in half the world because he'd been living forever and just had all this knowledge and everything, could fight and everything else.
Was once the ruler of China.
Yeah, it was the emperor of China at one point, or is it emperor?
Yes,
that's the right term. Yeah, emperor of China at one point. So then, like I said, they merged them and made Wen Wu, which is, if you watch the movie, literally all of the above, except we don't know how he found the rings, and that's one big argument with everybody. But I think we'll get there at some point in the future. Now on to the ring origin. The ring origin, like Gabe said, Mandarin originally found the rings in a spaceship, and they weren't really rings. They were what they were called Were they vessels, or what were they called? Cylinders?
Yes,
Cylinders. So the rings are actually not rings. They're ring-like things, but they're calling them cylinders. The dragon was calling them cylinders, and they were
a power source for the ship. But not only that, they held like the souls or the essence of other
warrior dragons.
Yes.
So the dragons, I keep saying this word, dragons are actually space dragons. They're not really from Earth.
They're aliens.
They're alien space dragons from a planet called Maklu 4. And
which is the same place that Fin Fang Foom is from.
If you know anything about the comics, Fin Fang Foom is also from Maklu 4. And that is a big Iron Man villain who has also fought multiple of current Avengers and old Avengers at one time or another by themselves.
Which so has the Mandarin now.
And so is the Mandarin. You're absolutely right. So we're having a lot of things that are kind of happening here, comic side and into the movies themselves. And, a lot of the things that people are asking about, I think will be answered in the future, because it said he will return. And obviously he's going to be with Doctor Strange and all that stuff. So,
which I'm excited about.
I am too. So that's for the ring origin. Oh, and the rings themselves, actually. So like Gabe said, there are 10 rings, and they were on your fingers. But the reason that Marvel switched from finger rings is because there was 2, like literally, this movie takes place 6 months after Infinity War or Endgame. And they were saying there was too many rings or too many gems and rings on your fingers, and it was just getting too confusing, so they just made them on the wrist instead. But one of the biggest differences are the rings on your fingers in the original comics each had their own name because they were the spirit of an old dragon warrior. Each had their own look, gem, and power. So each of them did different things. You know, one was like freeze ray, one was light ray, one was
a fireball, one was decomposition or something.
One you could slow down time. All kinds of just crazy stuff. But I guess they just for the sake of simplicity and keeping it separate from Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, they just decided to make them rings on his arm, which are kind of cool. There's an Easter egg about that, and we'll get there in just a minute.
And somehow, with all that power, the Mandarin in the comics still really couldn't beat Iron Man, which is lame. He's just a man in a piece of iron metal.
In a suit. Man in a suit.
He's a man in a tin can.
Yeah, who can't live forever, but the Mandarin can. So, anyways, Gabe, why don't you tell him about the Death Dealer, because that was part of a big thing there, too.
Death Dealer was something I took a lot of interest in. The guy who wore all blue... in the comics...
The face mask.
Yeah, well, no, it was face paint.
Well, the face paint, yeah. The creepy-looking dude.
It kind of reminded me of a kabuki mask, which is, I think, Japanese, right? So, in the comics, he wore like a skull mask, but he didn't even start with that, and he only appeared in 4 comics, and then he died because Shang-Chi killed him. He was sent as an assassin. He was working in MI6. Shang-Chi was then hired in MI6, but he turns out he's a double agent for Fu Manchu.
Same MI6 as Bond.
Yes. And then he's trying to find out all of the operatives from the head of MI6 all the way to Shang-Chi, and then he will kill Shang-Chi as his first target. And Shang-Chi comes to him and is like, "Hey, you have to come with me because you're getting fired or whatever, or killed or something, because they want him off of MI6 now." And then Death Dealer tries to fight him. He ends up escaping. He always ends up either running away or failing at attacking.
Talking about Death Dealer?
Yes, Death Dealer always does. And then eventually it gets to the point where Shang-Chi didn't notice him. He ambushes him, or Death Dealer ambushes Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi hits him with a brazier and burns him to death.
Crazy.
Pretty brutal. And it scars Shang-Chi, and he's freaking out.
Speaking of Shang-Chi, the comic version of Shang-Chi is really boring.
Yeah.
Very boring. So, I mean, he's the world's best fighter. He's the world's best martial artist with kung fu, and he has no superpowers. He actually doesn't even really use the rings, except for in more of a recent comic. That was more of a recent thing. The rings were never even so the Mandarin in the Shang-Chi, I keep saying it wrong. The whole timeline of the comics, they never even were meant to collide.
Yeah.
So Shang-Chi, never even they weren't even really supposed to give him the rings, but at some point or another he does get the rings and puts a string through them or something and makes a bracelet out of them instead of putting them on his fingers. He's just got a bracelet of rings. And I'm
assuming that's where they got the newer ideas kind of from, not for the arms, but Shang-Chi having them.
Yeah. I'm sure it was at some point they collided, I guess because they were both of Chinese origin Marvel superhero comic type of thing. But other than that, he was fairly boring, and the only thing he really did was just beat people up, and he fought a lot with was it Iron Fist?
Yes, he teamed up with Iron Fist.
Iron Fist, the Avengers, all kinds of Marvel characters.
In fact, one of the newer series is him versus the Marvel Universe, which it seems very interesting. So
he's really, great fighter, one of the best fighters probably on the entire...
He's considered the best hand-to-hand combat, and he can beat any mortal in the MCU.
Right. But other than that, it's just him fighting. It's not really anything cool. No superpowers, no magic, no nothing. The rings eventually do give him some, but other than that, no, it doesn't have any. And he really he uses nunchucks. Iron Man gives him some nano nunchucks at some point, and he uses swords and stuff. But and that was shown in the movie. He picked people's swords up and stuff. But other than that, it was kind of
preferred
hand to hand.
Yeah,
but he was kind of boring. But I think the movie did a really good job at making him not boring, and I like the way they're going with it, even though it's not in the comics. It's not really part of the comics at all.
They gave his character depth.
I like it. I don't mind it at all. That was it really for the comic comparison. I know there's a lot more. One little thing here is the monster at the end of the movie was. I think they really took that off of the Dweller in the Dark. I don't want to say that wrong. The Dweller in the Darkness, which if you've ever played Destiny, is a Xur type character. He's a all black, and he's got he almost looks like a Cthulhu man type of thing without the wings. But then they made this Cthulhu character thing. Yeah. Anyways, at the end. Okay, let's go right on to Easter eggs in the movie. One of the big things there is the rings themselves were actually, the design came from them watching kung fu movies and getting ideas from old kung fu movies. Well, a lot of times they'll have that as a weapon to hit people. The iron rings on their arm. They'll have a bunch of them, though, not just the 10. They'll be weapons to hit people or defense, also as weight training and all kinds of other stuff. Yeah. Well, one of the most one of the most movies that stood out to them most while they were working on the movie itself, it was Kung Fu Hustle, of all things, which is a comedy. It's not even a serious movie. Yeah. It's extremely stupid. I love that movie. But the guy in Kung Fu Hustle had him on, and they're like, whoa, we should do the rings like that to differentiate from Thanos. And because of that, in the movie, whenever it shows him doing push-ups at the very first there's a Kung Fu Hustle movie poster on the wall, and at the end in the credits, it was thanks to Kung Fu Hustle for letting us use or whatever like that. I thought that was really cool. Another big Easter egg was Abomination.
Everybody likes he's got the
gills. He's got the thin gill things on his ears or whatever.
He's no longer
a weird, tweaked out
steroid boy.
Yeah, steroid monster. Another one is what was the guy's name?
The project with AIM and Aldrich Killian. We saw one of his guys with the glowy chest and stuff.
In the fight in his sister's
fight club.
Yeah,
in one of the boxes. Fighting.
So one of the fire boys from Iron Man 3 was in there fighting with Abomination and Wong.
They all died.
And Wong, that's one. Wong, that's funny that he was such a big part of the movie, and that lets us know that in the future we're going to have a lot more Doctor Strange and the magic type of thing, not just superpowers. We're into the weird dimensional magic type of thing, and I really like that. And I think one of the biggest things, if you stayed after the movie, hopefully you did, we saw Bruce Banner was no longer Smart Hulk or Hulk. He was just Banner with his arm in a sling.
Well, is that before he went to that? Because it's only 6 months. Oh, it's after Endgame.
It plays 6 months later. So his arm is still messed up from doing the snap.
I didn't think about that.
And he's no longer Smart Hulk. He's just Banner.
Which means we may
not
get regular Hulk.
We may get Hulk back. We may not ever get Hulk back, and it may just be Smart Banner now.
They did get a lot of backlash. Nobody liked Smart Hulk, really.
I didn't. So with that being said, Gabe, what does this take us to the future of the MCU?
We get some cool Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi team-ups. That or
and Spider-Man.
Possibly. Hey, you saw Wong leaving in the trailer for Spider-Man at the beginning of the movie. He may be going to work with Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I think we're going to get a really cool backstory on the rings. I think we're going to get a lot more action with the rings.
Could lead into Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah, could lead into Fing Fang Foom at some point. I think that the dragon under the water, I didn't say this earlier, the dragon under the water in Talo, his mother's realm, was a monster, was a dragon from Maklu 4.
Could be.
I think so. We're going to have a lot of crazy stuff. Maybe Cthulhu comes back and he's an actual character in the series, because Cthulhu's the monster of everyone's dreams, nightmares.
Are you a cultist? I don't even know this stuff.
Cthulhu cultist. Other than that, did you have anything else about the movie itself?
I did.
Overall thoughts. Did you like it?
Yes.
I loved it. I really did.
Better than Thor: The Dark World.
It got me back into the MCU, into Marvel.
I liked those movies, so
I was kind of like, all right, Endgame's here. We're done. It's over. I watched the Scarlet Witch show. What was it called? Was it called Scarlet Witch? WandaVision. I watched that one, and it was okay. I have not watched Loki yet, and I have not watched The Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm going to now.
Lame.
I'm going to now, but I really
got
me back into it, and I'm excited for everything else coming, and I'm looking forward to the future of it. Now, because we're already wasted a lot of your time, let's get right into the giveaways, your favorite part of the show. We're giving away Carolyn Craig's cards right now. congratulations to the winners of her cards. We love you, and I hope you love her cards just like we do. And she was an awesome artist to work with. If you haven't seen her interview, make sure you go back and watch it. We'll probably link it right up here somewhere if I can figure out how to do that, because I've never done it before. And now right on to this week's artist. Which is Dave Gaskin. And we actually have his cards right here. We've had them here the whole time because new camera setup, and we don't have tape or anything on the table to notice how to do it, because we were really pushing it today, I promise. Like, to get today's video in the new studio, we finished setting it up like a minute before we started. Like, it was... Yes. Yeah, there's still stuff everywhere.
Like
it was crazy.
We could have actually sat there and made it look a little nicer for this, but like we're
wires sitting here behind us. You can't see them, but I promise you, they're here.
It's a bit janky.
They're here. Yeah, it's wild. I don't know what we're gonna do when it comes to 4 people. We have to figure that one out. Anyways, we have Dave Gaskin's cards here. We only have 4 because we gave away the other 6. So we'll have 4 winners and a loot box, and we will make the loot box worth your time, I promise. So make sure you get entered to win this week. Just so everybody's clear, the entries, how it works. We'll go over this real quick. As soon as you watch this video, if you watch it on Saturdays, because we upload these on Saturdays, as soon as you watch this video, this entry will be live. You click that first link that says gabescave.com/giveaways. And then you tell me not to hit the table?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it rattles. We'll have to figure that out. Anyways, gabescave.com/giveaways. This takes you to the link. It is live as soon as this video is up until Friday of the following week at 12 Central Time in the U.S. So if you... And then that's just so we can get the giveaway thing done. We can run it, and then we can get it so Chris can edit the video of the next week. And you can watch it like you just did here. Like just a second ago. Anyways, make sure that you are subscribed, you like the videos, you comment, and you fill out that form and the giveaway link accurately so we can get things out to you, because there have been several people who have not done it properly, and we couldn't get it out to you. You didn't leave an email, or you didn't leave a right address, and we're still sitting here with it, or we've given it away another time. I mean, we can't get it out to you, and we wait 5 months. What do you do with it? So make sure you get it out accurately, or get it to us accurately so we can mail it out to you, because they get mailed out the following Monday, and you should have it in your hands. Unless you're overseas, and you're going to have to wait a little while. And that's not our fault. Other than that, thank you to our sponsor again for letting us sit over at the clubhouse for so long and doing everything you do and letting us do this goofy stuff. RPG, you're awesome. Gabe, do you have anything else to say?
Bye.